Well, go on, everybody. Lennox here from Simple 123 Trader. This is the weekly outlook playbook for January 17th to the 22nd. Hope everybody's doing well. Let's take a look at the major futures indexes and the US stock indices as well. Starting off with the Australian dollar. I'm looking on the monthly time frame. Just want to see what's setting up for this week on the monthly time frame here. Sorry, what I'm seeing here overall is a structure that has taken us up to a previous resistance area, and possibility now that the Australian dollar might be seeing some weakness coming into this week and going forward. So going down to the weekly time frame, you can see again that this move looks like it's basically over, and we might be on our way back down. So how can we be sure? Let's drop to the daily. Okay, on the daily, okay, any breach of this neckline here, we've got a top, and we'll be heading back down unless, of course, we get a bounce. But it looks more like from last week's move that maybe we're done with this move to the upside, and we're going to be heading down. So a breach of this low, which is would be a key signal that we're heading back down. So again, looking at this, something like this. Of course, it might move back up first before we get that drop, but overall, I think the trajectory will be to the downside for the upcoming week. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin on the monthly, and this has made quite the move here, as everyone can see and has heard about, and it's made a pullback as well. And so what's expected? We got to drop a little lower and take a look. The expectation will be for further price moves to the upside after this little hiccup here is over with. So on the daily, you can see again from this level, the 18,000 level, we have pushed up very strongly, dropping back down. So we could slice up and down in this area for a while before we bounce again to the upside. So this could be a little of a spot for the remainder of this week. We could see further moves to the downside, back down to this level, and then maybe another move back up. So we could be again in a channel for a little bit of time before we get a move back out. That's totally possible. And if we get a breach of this level, of course, then we're gone back to the upside. If we get a breach of this level to the downside, of course, we might be heading back down to this level. But right now, again, we could be going sideways as well. So we'll see how that plays out for this week, at least. All right, on crude oil. Crude oil has had quite a move since its low below 40, and it's still looking pretty strong, but we're very, very close to a resistance area at this point, and we might be getting a bit overextended here. Still pushing, but you can see where we are. We're very, very close to a previous high, but there's still a little bit of room for this to continue going higher. So I'm going to be calling for more strength in oil. Again, any breach to the lower level will take us back down. However, I'm looking for this to continue to the upside in the short term going into this week. Okay, so that's oil. Let's take a look at the Canadian dollar. And this has been quite strong as well. And again, you can see that we still have room to go up to the next resistance level at that point. And it too has had quite the move. Are we done at this point? It's possible, very possible, or we could have another push. It looks like we might have exhausted our move to the upside. So what I'm seeing here again is another move that could be over. So breach of this level, we can get a pull back up, and we then back down. So you can see what's forming there. It's a double or a head and shoulders, and that would be a signal. Once this is broken, this line here, the shoulder, that we're heading back down with Canadian dollar. But in the short term, we might get another push back up before that happens. Okay, US dollar monthly. Okay, we've had quite the play to the downside. I was looking for price to reach to the support level. It has. This is an area, and we hit into that area, and now we're bouncing to the upside. So are we done at this point? Again, it looks like this is totally possible. And what I'm seeing here is a little bit of a move back up. So we could come back up into this area on this push to the upside, but doesn't mean that we're going to be breaking through to the upside. We're going to probably more than likely come back down. Now, we could come back down to breach that low one more time before we go again, but right now we're in an upward trajectory, and I would be looking for price to continue to the upside into this week. Okay, so lots of strength here. So again, I could see price coming back up into this area, no problem. All right, taking a look at the euro, also from the monthly, also a very strong push to the upside. We've challenged that previous resistance area, and we're right in there and turning back to the downside. So looking like we're heading back down at this point. We've got a pin bar up there, and so on the daily, that move is already playing out, and we're on our way down. So breaching of that level, and all bets are off to the downside. Okay, so we could get a little bit of a bounce, but more than likely we're going to continue back down as the week progresses. Okay, let's take a look at the Swiss franc on the monthly. Also, huge move to the upside there on Swiss franc. On the weekly, are we done at this point? Maybe not on Swiss franc. You can see that we could get this pullback, but we probably have one more push to the upside to come. So on the daily time frame, this current pullback, I would look for maybe possible move back to this level on this move down, but then we'd be heading back up again after that. So in the short term, yes, a little bit more down, but overall we're going to be heading back up. Gold on the monthly. Gold is still stuck in that little area of indecision, and you can see that this is basically this type of a structure that we're in. It's trying to push out of there. It's trying to push out of there, but right now it's kind of stuck in the middle of this indecision area. So lots of pips to be made in there, of course, but right now it's still an iffy type of thing. So we had quite a move up, and now we've retraced that area, that move to the upside, and if we have a line coming across, you can see where we are. So we should be pushing back out to the upside again with some strength on gold. With the strength in the US dollar, however, this might break this level. So if it does not move back up and comes back down, if it does not breach this high and continue to the upside, then we can expect a breach of the low. And if it breaks this low, then all bets are off, and we're heading down for a little bit more. Okay, so it looks pretty weak at this moment in time. So looking more like it's going to challenge the lows more so than going back up at this point. Okay, so that's gold. Let's take a look at the Japanese yen on the monthly. Also been very, very strong, and on the weekly, pushing to the upside still. We're in quite a tight channel here, and just touching top and bottom all the way up. And now we're at the bottom. So are we going to bounce at this point? More than likely looks like that's what we're going to do. So we have a trend line going up. We've reached the bottom of our trend line. We're looking like we're bouncing back up again to retrace this move, similar to what it did here, similar to what it did here. It just retraces, and so we can expect that kind of retracement. If we're wrong, then all bets are off. We're going to break this low and continue down. Right now, it looks like we're going to bounce to the upside with the Japanese yen. Okay, let's take a look at the New Zealand dollar on the monthly. Also very strong. It has reached the area of resistance and is turning down with a bearish pin bar right there. And on the weekly, we are heading down. Okay, looks like we're at the top of this move. On the daily, we can see we've got structure setting up to head down. It doesn't look like it's going to pull. If it does pull back a little bit, it's not going to be much, and we can expect further movement to the downside. So some weakness going into this week for New Zealand dollar. And let's take a look at the Mexican peso. And on the monthly, it's been very strong as well in the last while. And on the weekly, again, still very strong. What I'm seeing here is continued moves to the upside. So we're kind of in a sideways lull right now. We could be going sideways for a bit, but overall it's to the upside. So at this present moment in time, for this week, again, we're inside this this channel, and it's going to try to break through. But of course, we could come back down here first. So maybe some weakness in the short term, but overall, the trajectory is to the upside for New Mexico peso. Okay, for the next one is the British pound. On the weekly, also been very strong to the upside, and you can see where our area of resistance is. We've got lots of room still to come into there. So movement to the upside for the British pound. And on the daily, we can see we're very strong, and it too is also in a tight channel, and we've been just hitting bottom and top, bottom and top, bottom and top. So it looks like we're heading back down, maybe breaching this area, possible, before we head back up again. You see, every time it's come back down, it's almost each time it's come back down to this line. Only this one time did it not. So is it going to do that again and just come halfway, or is it going to come all the way down? It could come all the way down first, and that would mean some weakness going into this week for the US dollar, sorry, for the British pound. Okay, the next one is silver. Silver on the monthly. Okay, so silver has been very strong, but it too is inside of a lull area, and lots of battles right now trying to break out of this this area that it's in. So right now we're right in the middle of a triangle and looking like it wants to push to the upside here, more so than to the downside. So on the daily, that's what we'd be looking for. Any kind of looks like we're going to be coming back down, possibly to this area here, or we're done at this point, and price will be looking to push back up again. So I think this is just a retrace of this current move, and that's what we're going to be heading back up. So some strength with silver going into this week. Okay, and of course, silver and gold kind of go in hand. So if we're totally wrong and it does breach this area, this is going to be heading down. And if it heads down further and breaches the low here, then all bets are off and we're heading to the downside. But right now, it looks a little bit like a little bit of strength in silver. Okay, taking a look at the US 2000, this is the Russell 2000, and it's just been these are all the mid cap stocks, very strong in the last few months. Looks like nothing can stop this move to the upside at this point, and looking still very strong heading into this week. Although after drawing the structure, we might be coming to a little lull. It's earnings season now, so the proof is going to be in the earnings as it comes out this week, as they are coming out this week. So are we done at this point? It's totally possible. You can see that we're starting to turn a little bit. We could get a retrace here. It could be some bad news coming out from some of these companies, and this could bring the market down. So I'm a little bit on the side of a pullback, at least in the short term. Maybe just a feeling out process before the earnings start to really come out. Okay, and if we get some surprises in strength with some of the earnings, then we could see this push back to the upside. But in the short term, I think it's going to looks like a little bit of a downer. Okay, the Dow. Okay, similar. Okay, that's made quite a move to the upside here. on the weekly. What I'm seeing here on the weekly, this move, we could also be at a similar type of thing where we're going to be having a little bit of a pullback, and that's totally possible before we get another push to the upside, if at all. So again, this is it's a critical week in the United States because of the inauguration and all kinds of things like that, and the earnings. So lots of things can happen. And right now, it's looking like a little bit of weakness is coming into play. Of course, we could see this just make a little bit of a move here before it goes again, but we're at a very critical juncture. Okay, US 500, the S&P 500 on the monthly is similar. They're all basically doing the same thing. So on the weekly, looking like it's pulling back. On the daily, also looking like it's pulling back. So again, are we done at this point? Is this move over? And are we just going to be breaking all these levels and coming down? Or are we just going to be getting a bounce in here back to the upside? In the short term, a little bit of hesitancy, a little bit of down, but long term, it looks like it might still continue to the upside. But again, this is a very critical week in the markets. Okay, taking a look at the U.S. technology sector. Again, similar pattern, very strong to the upside, but now we're getting some indecision up there. So a little bit of caution in going into this week. It would be the key takeaway. You can see it's a big difference with the tech. They've had quite a move back down. So we could see this coming back down and challenging these areas before we get a bounce, if at all. Okay, so some caution going into this week, definitely with the U.S. Stock market. All right, so that's a look at what's shaping up for this week. So profitable trading to everyone. Be safe. We're done now. Thank you.